I kind of know these answers already from doing research, but usually try to start towards the beginning. So, was music big in your house? Did you play any instruments growing up? Any like musicians in your family? That type of stuff.
Nah. Music was like semi big. My mom's a huge Beatles fan, like one of those like Beatle maniac. We had a whole room in the crib that was like Beatles posters and memorabilia.
Oh, wow.
Like loves the Beatles, borderline like crazy. But only I can say that about her. But so I grew up on them, and then my dad was into like the Stones, Hendrix, Zeppelin, Doors, but then also like James Brown, Temptations, stuff like that. But music was always like a background thing for him. And then she mainly just listened to the Beatles all the time, which I love. I love the Beatles. I love so many of their songs. But I got into hip-hop completely on my own. I played the trumpet for like 6 months, and I quit when I was in like 4th grade. I hated it. And then I played the drums briefly. Kind of wish I kept up with that. But it just wasn't speaking to me. Like I was kind of not connecting with it. But I knew I wanted to do music since I was like young. I had like I posted a picture of this on Instagram a while ago. Actually, I had like a drawing I did where I was like a rock star, like Rockstar Mike was the name. So creative, and it was just like me with like a band and like the jacket with the fringes and all that. And I just wanted to be a performer. Like since I was I used to listen to a lot of Michael Jackson too when I was a kid. And I would like dance. We had like a talent show, and when I was in elementary school, and I would dance to Michael Jackson 3 years in a row. I just did it and like won. And I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know what it was. I knew I couldn't sing because I was in chorus and I was trash. So I was like, man, what am I gonna do? And then around like 6th, 7th grade, I got really into hip hop just from hanging out with older kids that were just showing me stuff. I didn't really get into what was popular at the time, which was like, I don't know, Ja Rule or whatever. But I was more into like, and Ja Rule actually has some songs I love now. But I was getting into like your shirt, like De La Soul, Tribe, Wu-Tang, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, NWA. Like that was the stuff that I was, Rakim, KRS, Kane, Cool G Rap. So I kind of really got into that. I thought it was cool that rap was a genre where you just talked about how fly you were for like a whole song. And I was like, this is great because I've always had a huge ego. So, and that's how but music, it wasn't like music was huge in my household. As far as I know, there's no musicians in my family. My grandmother was a poet. So I guess it's as close as you can get. But my dad always says he doesn't understand where it came from, but he's glad it's there.
I was listening to one of your songs, and I guess it's like a sample of your parents, and like they tell two different stories.
Oh, the story, yeah.
And what like your dad was talking about the dancing, and then your mom talks about you were very like artistic, drawing pictures and stuff.
Well, actually, I was trash at drawing. I actually, she's very nice. She is too nice. The way it would work was I was too young to write. I was like 5 years old. I wasn't really like I could like read. Like I was like learning how to do stuff. But the way we would do it, because my handwriting was, I was 5. I would like draw pictures, and they were bad. Like, don't let her gas me up. Them Johns were terrible. So I would draw these awful pictures. But then I would tell her what I wanted it to say, and she would like write the caption of whatever was happening. And I would write like stories since I was like 5. And that was a system we had. Is she would like hand write it because she at the time she was like a stay-at-home mom, and like or she'd go to school. She went to nursing school, but she was home more. And my dad was always at work, so when she was home, I would like come up with these stories, and I just, you're an annoying 5-year-old. You just go up to your mom and are like, let's hang out, and that's what we would do.
And you mentioned somewhere you got Big Daddy Kane's Raw.
Yeah, that was the one.
But were your parents cool with you, like listening to whatever?
Nah, man, come on. Like, I mean, you know, I grew up in the suburbs. Like, I was in Levittown, which is not the nicest suburb, but it is a suburb. And they both had, like, especially my dad had, like, rougher lives. So they were trying to be, like, the overprotective, like, don't let our children make the same decisions we made type of stuff, which, of course, caused me to make those decisions. But, you know, God bless them. So, yeah, when, like, I remember when, like, Eminem came out, you know, I was in, like, I don't know, 4th grade or something. And I was like, what is this? This is great. You know, I didn't understand half the things he said because I wasn't old enough to get, like, sex jokes and stuff. Yeah. But I just thought it was cool. And they heard it. And, of course, you know, my mother's horrified. And at first they were very, like, you know, okay, we'll get you, like, the clean version and stuff like that. And then by the time I hit, like, teenage years, they just gave up because they knew I was going to get it anyway. Like, I was burning whatever I wanted off my friends, burning CDs. Remember that? Like, so eventually, you know, my parents have never been, like, overbearing. They're not, like, religious or anything. Like, they were never, like, overbearing types, but they didn't want me listening to, like, Eminem had a song where he literally rapes his mom. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lyric. So I understand their concern. But at the time, I was like, yeah, fuck you. I'm going to listen to it anyway. I mean, not to their face. But, yeah, they weren't cool with it. But then, like, when I showed them the old school stuff, like, they liked Tribe, De La, stuff like that had a more positive message and, like, a jazzier sound. You know, and, like, Tribe has the Can I Kick It joint that samples Lou Reed. Like, my dad dug that, you know, because it had, like, that familiar element. They're open-minded people. It's just, you know, old white people. You know what I mean? It's hard for them to tap into hip-hop, but they've done it. Now they're, like, you know, they're, like, breaking down my bars and, like, talking to me about the beats and stuff, and it's very cool.
Yeah, I forget where you had mentioned, it might be in your bio on your page, you mentioned, like, Public Enemy, NWA, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim. I think you already touched on it a little bit. Whereas your peers not really listening to that, I imagine. Did you have any friends that were like, you know, I also like that type of music? Or
Nah. At first, no, not really. I didn't have a lot of friends for a long time. You know, I had a couple, but it was mostly, you know, kind of an outcast. Really didn't fit in. My family didn't have a lot of money. Like, wore, like, hand-me-downs a lot. Didn't really fit in with any crew. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the kids I did know, like, they didn't even really listen to music. You know what I mean? Like, when you're 11 years old, kids don't even know who they are yet. But I've been a heavy music fan since I was like 8. So yeah, especially when it comes to old school hip hop, by the time we're getting into teenage time, like, where I was at, that's when I started, like, going to Philly a lot. You know what I mean? Because Levittown's only like 20 minutes away. So I'd, like, hop trains to go to Philly a lot just to, like, you know, be around rap, go to rap shows. Any all-ages rap show, I was going to it, you know. A lot of underground stuff because that's all I could afford, you know. And no, not really, man. The only people I really knew that were listening to the rap was, like, the older kids, like, you know, and I didn't hang out with them as often. And when I would see them, you know what I mean, we'd talk about rap, you know what I mean? They'd smoke weed, and I'd be like, no, I don't do that, you know what I mean? And then I totally did. But it's just, you know, there wasn't a lot of culture in the area. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a white bread. Well, not white bread. It was racially diverse, but it was just not super open-minded to old school rap. The only rap I really heard around there was, like, whatever was popping, like, you know, 50 Cent, Ja Rule, which I've grown to appreciate 50's stuff. 50's first album is great, but no one to really share it with until I went to Philly and started meeting more people.
Yeah, it was kind of the same where it's like, I don't know how, but I got into like Public Enemy and like that, and like no, everyone was like, "What are you talking about?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like hated whatever was on the radio. I was like, "This sucks. You need to listen to like this."
I went through that phase where you're like anything. If once it's like I even went through a phase for a little bit where I hated Jay-Z, where I was like, Jay-Z's like all about money. Now Jay-Z's he's like the GOAT to me now, but like at the time I was just like, no, this is that's not real hip hop. And it's like it is though. The real hip hop. I hate that. Yeah. Honestly, I hate that label of like what's real comedy. You know what I mean? What's real? Like I hate that.
That's like something I'm constantly working on. I think it's because I also came up on a lot of punk.
I also actually came up on punk as well.
And there's just such a like people be like, because I knew some like hardcore punk kids, and then be like, Rancid sucks, like your shirt's gay type of.
I actually dug Rancid a lot. I thought "And Now Come the Wolves" is a classic. I love that album.
But there's just so much. I like
good music's good music. I also love, I love the Sex Pistols. I love Nevermind the Bollocks. I listen to some NoFX. I was never into like punk, really. I guess I don't know. Anyone that's punk that listens is gonna be like, "What a poser." But, like Agnostic Front. Trying to think of like punk bands. The Offspring. I went through like a phase, but then it's like it wasn't really a phase. I still listen to that stuff now sometimes. You know what I mean? But I went through a point where I was listening to a lot of punk. I think punk and hip hop go hand in hand more than people realize.
Me and Rich Quick talked about that a bit, where it's like, and it's the same kind of with hip hop. And you mentioned in your on your SoundCloud, it says like kind of like mixing modern pop and hip hop songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could just touch on, because it does seem like there's such just like, I don't know, because pop and just like popular good music, like you could put this on, not in like, but there does seem like such a like it's either hip hop or it's not type of thing. You know what I mean? But how do you, did it take you a while to like be like, oh, I can make good listenable music and it's still hip hop?
Oh yeah. I definitely, I had a growing process for sure. There's so many songs I've made that no one will hear, you know what I mean? Anymore. Like congrats to the whatever dozens of people that heard them at the time. But, I had to figure things out. I kind of had to break that barrier of like, yo, this isn't real grimy hip hop. I think all that shit is like dumb as hell now.
Yeah.
And I have for a while. But when I was a kid, it was just like, if it's not, I listen to a lot of like underground hip hop too. And I don't want to blame it, but like I listen to a lot of like Atmosphere, Def Jux, guys like that. And I still love that stuff from that era. It was a great era. But a lot of that had me on some like, melodies. Who needs melody? Selling out, like, especially like Def Jux. But I learned that I really like a lot of songs with melody, like the stuff I grew up, the Beatles, masters of melody, Lennon and McCartney, even like I already mentioned James Brown, The Temptations, that stuff I grew up listening to, Otis Redding, these guys that I always loved, so far as I can remember. These dudes used tons of melody, and they made listenable pop music. Marvin Gaye, one of my favorite artists of all time. He made pop music, and he was amazing at it. And that's when I just grew up, and I started realizing, like, even, like, I keep referring to your shirt, but let's take De La Soul. Like, De La Soul were definitely hip-hop. I don't think anyone can contest that. But they had elements of pop in there. Like Me, Myself, and I was a pop smash. Yeah. That was a huge hit, but it also wasn't like a stupid song. You know what I mean? Like that balance is what interests me, is making music that's like melodically engaging. It'll make anyone that listens to it, for the most part, can get something out of it from the melody, but then there's something there with the lyrics. You know what I mean? Like the lyrics are saying something, whether it's just being clever and like witty, and just being like, talking your shit, or it's like there's a message there. I like that balance. And I think I've finally gotten to a point in the last couple years, probably like 2 years now, where I'm really making music that walks that line. And I don't really hear anyone making it really that's that as balanced. I feel like a lot of people feel like they have to choose a side.
Yeah.
You know, like you're either like making the mainstream club bangers, or you're like, you know, Mr. Grimy Lyrical Miracle, tighten the straps of my JanSport like it's still 2000. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And both sides are dumb. So it's like, why not do both? Why not? Because I think hip-hop's in an interesting place now where a lot of guys that are popping manage to combine both. You know what I mean? Like, I think more like there's not as much like mainstream versus underground divide as there used to be now. And I think that's good for the genre. Because good music's good music. And I like different types of music for different reasons. And me personally, I don't think even just the way I look, like image-wise, I hate the word image, but image-wise, like, I'm not going to, I love Sean Price, R.I.P., he's a legend, but I'm not going to try to rap like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm rapping about punching people in the face and, like, smoking dirty backwoods and, like, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's going to be like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, you look like, what are you doing? Like, you're wearing, like, fitted jeans. Like, you look like you're in a boy band. Like, please stop. But I don't want to rap about boy band shit either. So you find that middle ground. You know what I mean? You find, like, you know, I'll like, oh, I'd rather, instead of punching you in the face, I'll take your girl. You know what I mean? Like, that makes more sense, I feel like. So it's just knowing yourself, learning who you are and what works for you and who you really are, and being authentic in the art. And I think I wasn't doing that for a while. I was figuring out who the fuck I was. Yeah. You know what I mean? Aren't we all? But, yeah.
You mentioned R&B and soul, and you mentioned Nina Simone a bit. Was that stuff you grew up on as well, or was that not until later?
I wouldn't say specifically Nina Simone. I wouldn't say I grew up on her. I found her myself. I went through a phase is a bad word. I went through like a period where I knew the stuff from my parents and like just hearing it, Marvin and you know, James and all that. And then I was like, man, I really like this music. And you know, using the magical tool of the internet, I looked up more soul music from there, because soul music is my favorite type of music. 60s, 70s soul music is like, if you put a record out in that time period, I'll probably like it if it's that genre. Like, there's not much I've heard where I'm like, I don't really like this. Like, I love that genre of music and that time period. So I just did independent research. Like, I just started like looking stuff up. And Nina Simone was an artist that really, really stuck out to me. And that's why in that the record I have, Rest for the Wicked, which I have a video for that, I mention Nina Simone in that record. Because, you know, Sinner Man, Where You Gonna Run To? She has a song called Sinner Man, which Kanye West famously sampled for Get By, the Talib Kweli record. And I love that song, and I always thought her lyrics were next level. I still think she was the best lyricist of that era. And but nah, it wasn't anyone. No one in Levittown was listening to Nina Simone. To answer your question, nah. And I was listening to a lot of shit that literally not another human in like a miles radius was listening to. But it was just, you know, I was just a kid that really liked music.
Yeah, I was kind of like, there was a good amount of like R&B in the house. It just like, you know, the radio. I can't think of the station. But then, like, as I got older, especially, like, when I really got into Dilla and just, like, like hearing all these, like, samples, just, like, these R&B songs that you would, like, never hear, like, shit you would never hear on the radio. And I was just like, oh, man, like, but, yeah, that's definitely one of my, like, go-to genres is, like, that type of shit.
It's good music, man.
Yeah.
It's hard. If I feel like if you dislike that type of stuff, you're either lying to be different or, like, you're just, like, a shit person. Like, who doesn't like that type of music? Like, what? You must be the most miserable person to be around. Who, like, you put on a Curtis Mayfield record or, you know, a James Brown or a Aretha Franklin or, you know, I already said Marvin Gaye, Sam Cooke. I put on a Sam Cooke record and you're hating on it? Like, get away from me. Like, your whole energy is so, you must, like, hate, you know, you probably, like, you know, kick babies in the face. Like, I don't want you around me.
Going back to, you know, growing up were you writing, like, aside from like hip hop, were you was writing something you were always into?
Yeah, like it goes back to writing those stories, like telling my mom what to write down. I started like writing like stories and stuff. When I wanted to be an author, pretty much. I used to write short stories and stuff like that. Obviously, I would write poems before I even wrote rap lyrics. I wrote some rock songs as well. I didn't understand. I still don't understand music theory or anything like that. A lot of people probably tell you I'm not like a real musician. Yeah. They're douchebags, but I don't know, man. Words. I just really like words. Words give me like a brain boner. Like I'm really into words, and like even as in school, I took creative writing courses, and like when I went to college, and I majored in English major with a creative writing minor. Like just really dig writing, and it's something that like and that's like how I still freelance write for different people this day for different like websites and stuff. So yeah, since I was like 5 or 6 when I started doing those stories, I've just always been writing. Really into it. Can't really explain why. Just good with words, I guess. Really into constructing thoughts. When you write something, it's a lot different than just talking because you have the time to sit and think about what you really, really, really want to say. Whereas if I talk, it just comes out a lot, Whereas when you're writing, and even if you're writing a song, because you're writing a song, that's the most deliberate form of writing. These are words that are going to be recorded and listened to forever. You know what I mean? Like that's, if you're releasing this song that's, going to be on iTunes or whatever, and someone buys it, they can hear that long after you're dead. Like some kid buys it. Those words have to be, is that what you want to say? Is that what you want to say? Like it's gotta count. So I've always dug that about writing.
Do you have a process? How much do you think your process has changed? And do you also have any like type of like exercises you do where you just like sit and write type of stuff?
I never know how to answer this question. I don't really have a process at all. Like I don't like some guys, and I respect it. I'm not trying to clown them, but like some dudes would be like, first I meditate, and then I like make some tea. I'll do some stretches after my morning glory mantis pose, and that's what's up.
Yeah.
I respect yoga. Shout out to yoga, but I don't do any of that. I just kind of, if it hits me, I write. But a lot of times now I write in my head a lot. It's been like that for a while. Sometimes I'll make like a memo of like 1 word or 2 words to remember in my phone. But for the most part, every day of my life I write at least 1 bar. You know what I mean? Like something. Or I'll come up with a melody for a hook. A lot of times lately I write the melody first and then I plug lyrics in later if I'm coming up with a chorus. Yeah, I don't have a process. I got nothing, man. I never know how to answer this shit. I just go. Like, if something hits me, I'm inspired by something, I either make a note or I like just start. People can tell because I'll zone out. They'll start trying to talk to me, and I'll just be, I hear it from everyone I know. But yeah, that's about it. And then if I'm home alone, like I rarely, what I don't like is sitting down. Like I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna write now. Time to write. Let me schedule 6 to 7 p.m. Because you're not gonna write. Like I got news for you, pal. That you're probably not gonna write. The most natural, the best writing comes from just naturally. It just happens. So it happens a lot when I'm out because I'm on the move a lot. So when I'm out and something hits me, like I said, I'll make a memo. But yeah, there's no process. It just kind of sporadically. It just happens. Yeah. Was there a second part to that question?
No, that's because I said, do you have any like exercises?
Oh yeah, nah, not really, man. Like sometimes I'll go through beats. I definitely have written songs to pre-existing beats, and then I'll take it's just a beat that I like that already exists, and I'll write to it, and then I'll take that beat to a producer and be like, I want you to make me something that's this tempo, but everything else different, just this tempo because I wrote to it. So I guess that's an exercise. Again, if I really like it, then I'll take it to a producer. Sometimes I'll trash it and just be like, yeah, it was just I guess that is an exercise. So yeah, just stay sharp, and I'll do like ciphers and little stuff where I'll put together a verse in like 10 minutes just because it's like a cipher. But yeah, that's about it.
As someone who majored in English for about 2 semesters,
and then you figured it out. You're like, this is bullshit. I'll never get a job.
Yeah, I want to.
Kids
ask
don't
you,
major in English.
What well, you mentioned like being an author, whatever. Going in to that major, was there anything you like wanted to do?
Man, no. I didn't even want to go to college. I know my parents are going to listen to this, but they know that, like, family didn't have money like that. And, student loans remind me of the money that, as a still. But I went to college because it was like, my pops didn't, my mom's didn't when she was younger. And me and my brother were always really good in school. We were just like super book smart, both of us. More so him. But I was no slouch. But I didn't want to go. I really didn't. But I did pretty much to appease them. But then I had some of the best times in my life there, so I don't regret it. But when I first went, I was undeclared. I didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't even want to be there. And then did some research, and I was like, man, going to school undeclared statistically is like a bad idea. And I was like, I need to pick something. And I was like, man, I love words. I love writing. And I went with English. But honestly, man, I planned to get signed before I even graduated. I just was like, everything was the music. So I was just like, I'm so good. I'll just get signed. The thing was, I wasn't that good yet. And I still had growing to do. And I didn't get signed. But I did like when I was up there, like I pretty much made the hip hop scene. There was really not much of a hip hop scene. I went to Westchester University, and there was like a couple rappers, but I started like booking shows and like bringing headliners out and stuff like that, and getting the student union to pay for it. A little hustler, but yeah, man, I never wanted to be a teacher. I'll tell you that. Let's get that out of the way. Never had the patience for it. That's why I respect teachers so much. I know I couldn't do it. I don't really like kids, and I don't have the patience. I would cuss a kid out. Like I would get fired. So I never wanted to be a teacher. I just wanted to write. I was like, man, if I don't make it as a rapper, then I'm just going to write. And nothing's really changed since then. Like that's pretty much where I'm at. Like I refuse to do a job I don't like. Life's too short. I'm not going to go like get some career for working for some dude that doesn't care about me. So, so that's where I'm at. That hasn't really changed much for me. Like if the music doesn't work out, I'm going to do something else in like the creative arts, like act or, write, screenwriting, stuff like that. I'm not really concerned with joining the conventional workforce.
Yeah, I would like talk to my teachers, and they were pretty much all just like, yeah, I was an editor, and then I became a teacher, and I'm like working on a book in my spare time. And I was like, I don't want to teach. Like,
you didn't either?
No.
What'd you teach?
Oh no, I didn't want to. Like when I was majoring in English.
Okay.
Like all the teachers were just like, yeah, I was a editor for like a book.
They told you.
Yeah. They were like, I was an editor for a book company, and now I'm a teacher, and I was like, oh, I should change this. But going back a bit, you start rapping when you were like 14?
Yep. You have done your research.
And were you still like the only kind of like peer, or did you like did you have other peers that were like rapping and stuff? Was there like a...
Yeah, there were other kids that rap. There were a couple kids I knew when I first started. And then, and when I was in high school especially, I mean, that's when I started my freshman year of high school. And, kids I went to a school called Harry S. Truman anyone from the area is familiar with how terrible it is. Like metal detectors at graduation. The Bloods had a hit out on our class president.
Jesus.
You can look this up. It's ridiculous. So it was definitely like a racially diverse school, and like there were kids of all types, but I was like the only real white kid that rapped. Like my homie LTC, who's still like my brother to this day, he began rapping after I did, and he started out, but he was never like a cocky battle rapper type. But I was, for better or for worse. And it got me in some trouble, and people would come up to me in my locker and battle rap me and stuff. Seriously, man. It was ridiculous. Like, it would happen. I'd be like, dude, it's like 8 a.m. Like, and kids would battle me in the hallways. And, like, I just beat everybody. Just literally beat everyone that I battled. And I guess that's how I got into battle. I still would never, like, say battle rapping's my strong suit. But it was just like I only did it because it was self-defense, like I'd be at lunch and people would come over and be like, yo, people put money up, like, I'll bring you over to this table, battle my boy, blah, blah. Let's just fucking chop this dude's head off, you know what I mean? Chop this dude's head off, like. And I just did it because I just did it because it was like, oh, people think this is cool. And then because I'd been like kind of a dork my whole life, because not like a dork, like I wasn't getting like swirlies or nothing, you know what I mean? I wish somebody would try to swirly me, but like I never really fit in with the cool kids till high school is when I was like cool, because I was the white rapper kid, and then it started popping off from there. But I had a couple friends that rapped that I became friends with that didn't battle me, that were like cool. But yeah, the only one I really talk to still is that guy I mentioned, LTC. He's very dope. Just check him out. Great producer as well. Very dope. We've worked. Actually, the song you mentioned, "The Story" with my parents, he produced that.
Oh, yeah.
He produced my first project that I put out. The whole thing. Very patient dealing with me, especially at that time of my life when I was like 17 years old. I was a nightmare. So yeah, that's still my brother. But yeah, a couple other kids rapped for sure. But no one was fucking with me.
You mentioned you were around like 16 when you started like performing and recording. So prior to that, was it mostly just battling, or were you like starting to write songs, thinking about like recording?
Man, it started out as like parody rap. Like I like wrote a song. The first song I ever wrote was over the Straight Outta Compton beat, and it was about being from the suburbs, and it was just about suburban shit. Like I exaggerated it. Like we didn't. It's not like we grew up in like a neighborhood like Pleasantville. You know what I mean? Where it's like everyone's got the flamingo in their yard and there's a milkman. Like it was kind of fucked up for real. But I just wrote a funny song about that, and then I had a couple friends that were like, yo, you should really do this, like you can kind of rap. And I didn't really take it serious till I was 16, 17. I played my first show. That's when I caught the bug. Me and that dude LTC did a show together, and everyone came out for it from the high school, and that's when I was like, I want to do this, you know what I mean? Like I can make money doing this thing that people tell me I'm good at. And then they clap when I'm done. Like, why would I not want to do this? Girls like it. You know what I mean? Like, what is wrong? How is there a bad downside? I'll just be a rapper. I was too young to realize how hard it is. But I still just want to be a rapper. So I guess nothing much has changed. But yeah, man, that it started off as just like joke songs and battles for sure. But then I started seriously writing songs around like 16, 17. And I put out like my first EP and stuff.
I guess battling would like prepare you for it a little bit, but did you like adopt to the stage quick? Were nervousness or like being in front of all those people type of stuff, or were you just like naturally?
Yeah, there's never really an issue. Honestly. I don't. There's no way to really say this without sounding slightly douchey, but like, Nah, man. I'm a ham. Like I love it. I love it. I love it. I'd play a show 6 days out of the week if I could. Still 6 nights. Like occasionally I'll get a little butterflies, I guess. If it's like a big show. Like I just played the Fillmore this past Wednesday. Opening for another artist for Snow the Product, and it was definitely like slight nervousness before I went on, but it's very fleeting. It doesn't last very long. It's just kind of more like anxiousness to get on stage. I would get more nervous before a battle than I would before a show. It's a whole different environment. But like for shows, man, I love it. It's my favorite part. I like it more than I like it. I like performing a song more than I like any other part of what I do. Always been a total. I think that comes from like when I was in elementary school and I did the Michael Jackson shit. Like I was kind of like bred into it. You know what I mean? I was already like a ham. So yeah, I've always just been into that shit, man. I like attention. I like people like recognizing my talents, like anyone does. But yeah, I don't know. Never. I wouldn't say at that time I was a particularly confident kid, but when I was on the stage, I felt like I was the man, you know. And that's just when you don't really have shit, you know what I mean? When you don't have much, to have that feeling even for like 20 minutes is like you want that all the time.
Yeah.
You know. So nah, man. I'm just impatient to get back on stage.
You've performed with some bands, I believe.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Is that something you enjoy doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole different dynamic. Like, first band I performed with was when I was in school, in college. I performed with a band, I think twice, maybe. There's a lot going on. This is not the best memory unless it's like lyrics. But yeah, I performed with a band a couple times and it was very cool. Looking back, I still have some footage from those shows. You know, there's still a lot of polishing that needs to be done. But yeah, since then I performed a couple more times with bands. This band called The John, which is the most Philly name of a band ever. Those guys are great. Done some shows with them that were awesome. We did a show at Underground Arts. We almost sold it out, which was awesome. Performing with a band's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? It's got pros and cons. I'm not really particularly interested in performing with a band now. I've done it. I'm glad I did it. It was great. The bands were great. The musicians I worked with were great. But live band hip-hop is risky. I feel like, if you're not the Roots, you know what I mean, or like a select few others, it's hard to pull off a sound that still keeps the essence of your songs. Especially a lot of the stuff I'm making now is a lot more 808 driven and less like soul sample boom bap stuff. And that stuff's great, but that's just not really what I'm making now. So I feel like trying to recreate that with a band just doesn't sound right. So I work with a drummer now, though. When I do shows, it'll be my DJ will play the beats and the drummer amplifies the drums, like with live drums. And that's what I think. That's the middle ground I like. Because also people that don't really like rap like that will see a live instrument and just, even if it's just a drummer, and be like, oh, this has some credibility. And then I pull in that whole crowd too, you know. So I look at it that way. And then it also, having the drums amplified is hip hop is drums, you know what I mean? Like without drums, you know what I mean? No one wants to hear a hip hop song without drums. Like what's that? You know what I mean? That's why they call it a beat, you know? So, but yeah, shout out to every single musician I work with. I have love for every one of them. I've never had like an argument or a problem with any musician that I've done a show with. They're all, dude, the fact that those guys learned my songs, you know what I mean, to recreate is amazing. Kind of saying it out loud right now is like blowing my mind. They did that, you know. But right now I'm not really interested in doing that. But I'm glad I did. Those were some great shows. Playing with a band is totally different than playing with just a DJ. But that's why I like where I'm at now with the middle ground with the drummer. Shout out to my drummer, Brandon Bradley. He's in a band called The Burgeoning. I'm going to plug them. They're excellent. They're really killing it. And then my DJ Damas is like, it's my brother. They're great, and they'd be mad if I didn't say their names.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Did you just think of that one?
Yeah, I created it. No one's ever done it before. Any rapper you see with a drummer is copying me. Nah. I definitely saw other rappers doing it.
Oh, really?
And I was like, man, this works. You know what I mean? Like the drum, it's got to be the right drummer, right? There has to be synergy. There has to be chemistry there. Because I saw something where it didn't work. You know what I mean? Where the drummer's like offbeat and the DJ's like stopping it too early and all that crap. But I saw some other guys doing it, and I'm not lying here. I really don't remember particularly who, but I saw other guys doing it. And was like, man, this could be that middle ground I'm looking for. Because, dude, also, like, working with a whole band, you're dealing with, like, 4, 5, 6 other guys. Or also women. I had a woman that played keyboards before in a band, so I don't want to say guys. It's, like, sexist. But people who you have to organize them for practice, and then you gotta do more than one practice if you really want to get it right. And then, you're splitting the money up all those ways at the end of the night. So it's just like, man, I saw just the drummer, and I was like, man, that's all I need, really. You know what I mean? Like, just the drummer. That's all. Like, that's the foundation of hip hop. And then all the other elements of the beats are just played by the DJ. The drums are amplified. So it just made more sense. It makes more sense financially, I think sonically, and like I said, unless you're the Roots, it sounds better. And that's what I wound up rolling with, and I'm happy with that decision.
In an article about one of those shows, you mentioned
this guy's really doing his research, man. Shout out to you.
I forget if you mentioned it or if just the writer mentioned it. It was about exercise and breath control, and it was in like one of the Jump articles, and you played like an hour-long show. So yeah, it was
which show was that? Probably that was probably the show I meant, the Underground Arts show that we almost sold out. That was the first time I played with the John. That's probably the one. I think Jump covered that. Yeah, I did play an hour set. I've actually played more hour sets than I care to admit. Because every time I'm done, I'm like, why did I do that? Because I don't really, like, I work out lightly. You know what I mean? Like I'll like, push-ups, sit-ups, light weightlifting, like stuff like that, just so I don't turn into a slob. But like, I'm not like a fitness guy. You know what I mean? Like, but to do an hour set and not feel like shit afterwards, you kind of have to be a fitness guy. That's demanding.
Yeah.
Like the way I perform, like I'm not one of these rappers that stands in one spot and just like, yo, my lyrics is all I need, and I got the miracle spiritual. I'm just gonna stand here for an hour, take a nap. I don't care how good your bars are.
Yeah.
So I like to run around. I like to use the stage to the best of my ability. Doing that for an hour is tough. So, yeah, if I have a set like that coming up, and I know it's like I did my album release last year, and I actually did 2 sets. I did 2 half-hour sets. I played the whole album, but I had like an intermission where I brought out 1 or 2 other acts, and then I came out and did the rest of it. But if I have like a show where I'm doing an hour straight or 45 minutes even, I'll like jog. I'll get my cardio up. I'll do like jumping jacks, jog in place, stuff like that. Outkast, I don't know if you knew this. Outkast, there's like a interview or some shit where they say they would swim laps in the pool with each other while they rap their whole set. And I was like, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's genius.
Yeah.
So when I lived in Fishtown, there was a pool down the street, like a public pool. And if it was nice out at the time, and I had one of those type of sets coming up, I would literally jack that whole strategy. I would go there, jump in the pool, and rap my set to myself, like very quietly so I didn't look crazy. But yeah, because there are other people there and shit. I'm not going around like rapping loud as hell, but to myself, I would just like rap it at like this volume right here while I'm swimming. And it's not easy, but it helps. Yeah, people forget about that. Physical conditioning is important if you're a performer. Like you can't. Everyone's like, "What about Big Pun? What about Biggie?" And I'm like, "Yeah, those guys were amazing rappers." Would you say their performances were like amazing though? Not really. They just kind of stood there because that's all they could do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to. Maybe that's blasphemy, but those guys can rap. Like you know, go as far as saying they're better rappers than me. But when it came to performances, I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? I want to be able to utilize the stage and move around and run around and play a long set. You know what I mean? But I also have asthma too, like mild asthma. But it flares up if I'm doing a bunch of crazy performing and stuff that my body's not used to doing that all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, exercise is important. It is, even though I hate it. You got anyone that I feel like people that really like to exercise is like some mentally wrong. Like there's some like you're not quite right. But none of us are. So who am I to judge?
Performing live, you mentioned like the show being more than just standing there and rapping. Was that something you like picked up from other acts, or just like, or you've been to shows and you were just like, I'm not really into this type of thing?
Yeah, dude. You hit it on the head, man. That's exactly right. I would go to shows, especially some for like big artists. I'm not going to name, but like big artists that I was into their music, and I still am. But their performances were like, I'd rather stay home and listen to your record. And there's a lot of that in hip hop. Like I listen to a lot of different types of music. And like when I would go see other types of music, it was less often that I'd be disappointed. Whereas with hip hop, guys are rapping over their vocals, or they're just standing in one spot the whole time. There's nothing special going on. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing interesting. There's nothing that differentiates it from what the record sounds like.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I even pay money? I mean, to go see you, like, if you're just, it's just like listening to your album. Like, why am I here? So I refused to be that type of artist. At a young age, I refused. And I came up watching, like I mentioned these guys earlier, Atmosphere, Slug from Atmosphere, an amazing performer. I think he's a great performer. I think he's like GOAT level. And this guy, Sage Francis, I used to watch when I was a kid. These alternative, A$AP Rock, these like alternative guys. And then also I used to study tapes of like the Beastie Boys, how they would perform. And it's really, really like crazy. Like the I don't know what the word is, synchronicity between the Beastie Boys. You know what I mean? Before Yauk died. But like that type of stuff, I'm like, man, when I perform, that's the type of shows I want to put on. You want to give people an experience. You don't want people to just pay the whatever $10-$20 and they come in and you're just like rapping your album and that's it. You know what I mean? Like there has to be something else there. You got to engage the crowd, tell jokes in between songs. I like to like be funny and like to engage with the crowd, play off what's going on. Like Wednesday I did a show where I did a song, Palm of My Hand. I did a record where it's like a relationship, like a breakup song type of thing, and this guy in the front row was like affected by it, and he was like, man, you gotta stop doing those type of songs, man. And I was like, we're having a moment right here, like, you know what I mean? And I gave him a copy of my album, and that dude's gonna remember that for the rest of his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like giving people moments is more important to me than like spitting the illest bars at the show, you know.
So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about when you were on 106 in Park and like how that
of course
how that came to be.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. Obviously, I don't blame you for this. You got to ask me about this in the interview. I'm probably gonna be asked about this for the rest of my life, but I absolutely hate talking about this. I don't know why, but I just hate it. But I'm gonna talk about it. But I'm gonna summarize it. Basically, I battled, as you know, coming up, and then I wound up doing a couple grind time battles.
Oh, okay.
Which I did well in, of course. And then someone from BET saw a battle that I did that had like decent views, and found my email, I guess through my Twitter probably, that they plugged my Twitter at grind time, so I guess that's how they found it. They emailed me about trying out for 106 in Park, something I never even thought about doing. But, when I was a youngin', I would watch Jin and Loaded Lux and, like, these guys battle on 106. So I was like, why not? I'll do Freestyle Friday. I'll try it. And then, I went to New York waited in line with like 80 rappers, and maybe 100. I don't know, a lot, and it was cold, and I went in there and I had to beat like 6 people in a row.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, it was a lot. And like I didn't write anything. Like I had a couple like generic bars that were just like, and I found out who was judging, like Loaded Lux and like a couple other guys. Jin was there, but he left before I even got up there. But I came up with a couple lines that incorporated them and stuff. But for the most part, it was all off the top. And you didn't know who you were gonna battle till right then. Like you were in a group of 10 people, and they were just like, you and you brought you up, battle, and that was it. So, you know, and that's kind of how I always knew I was nice at freestyling. Like, I always knew I was good off the top. But that's when I really realized, like, I was, like, super nice, like, off the top. Was, like, being put to that test. You don't realize what you're really capable of till it's like, all right, these guys you grew up watching on TV are judging you rap against this other guy who's talking about, like, having sex with your mom and, like slapping you in the face and, like, you better say something or you're a failure and you suck. So when you have that pressure, you realize how good you can really be. And yeah, so I beat all these dudes. A couple months later, they bring me back on. I battled the first kid that I battled who's actually from the area. He said he's from Philly. He's not. He's from Willow Grove, but that's okay. So I battled him, beat him. It was a close battle, to be honest. He was pretty good. He's all pre-written, but he's pretty good. Beat him, and then, just ran through some more people. Battled some guy that was like supposed to be a big battle rapper guy. Beat him pretty easily. And then beat some more people, and then did the Hall of Fame thing. And my whole plan was to just stop battle rapping after that. Like I was like, all right, I did what I had to do. It got me out there. That's how I wound up getting my manager. He saw me on BET, and like that's how that popped off. And I was gonna just bow out, but then battle rap follows you around like a dark cloud of mama jokes and fat jokes, and everyone just wants, still to this day, and it's like I will never battle again. I have absolutely no ambition to battle. I respect battle rap. I still watch battles occasionally. I respect the culture. I know a lot of good people that battle. I'm friends with a lot of battle rappers that are great guys, very talented. But it's not for me. I think I've proven I'm better at songwriting, and I'm better at performing on stage. I'm good at battle rap. I'm sure if I tried to battle someone right now, I would do well. And I'm thankful for the experience I had on 106 in Park. I met a lot of cool people. And I was on TV. Like, my mom's like watching me on TV at home. Like, who would not like that, But so I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful. But, it is something I'm getting away from, I think, with the music and like with the material I've been putting out, like just showing people I'm not just, this dude that's like, yeah, well, your mom's fat because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not, or even like battle rap now has become this thing where there's no beat. It's just a cappella. All these guys with no rhythm are out here rapping. And, I'm not really with all that. So, I'm thankful for it. I'm glad it happened. But I would appreciate if everyone stopped asking me about battling people. People want me to battle my friends, like my homie Ren Thomas. He's doing his thing, and like he's came up battling as well. He's also very good at battling, and people are always like, "Yeah, you guys should battle each other." It's like, no, we just make a dope record. Like it's my dude. I don't want to say anything mean about him.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine he doesn't have a desire to say anything mean about me. Like it's my guy. You know what I mean? We take shots of whiskey together. Like I don't want to battle that dude. Like, I'd rather make a record. What does battling really do? You know what I mean? Unless if they were offering us, like, some racks, like, it was, like, money, like, me and him would probably be like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Let's get paid. Like, yeah. But no one's doing that. It's just broke-ass people that want to see conflict, and that shit is whack. So, I just have strong opinions about that. You opened up a can of worms. But 106 in Park was a great time in my life, for sure, and I'm very thankful for it. And I learned a lot about the industry because I was like talking to like Alicia Keys and like and then Styles P judged one of my battles, and like Ninth Wonder judged my first battle. Like these are like the dude Shaheem Reed, who's like the editor-in-chief for Double XL. You know what I mean? Like these connections that I've made. These guys still follow me on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like it's stuff that I learned from that is invaluable. So I'm thankful for it, but no battle rapping ever unless you're giving me like $10,000. Like it's not worth it.
So I guess it was like because you posted about it. I guess it was like a couple weeks ago on Facebook. I guess it was like the anniversary of that or whatever, and you mentioned it like getting to your head a bit. Do you think that was
Definitely.
like the age thing or like just
Yeah. For sure. That's why I posted that status.
Yeah.
I used to be very, I just would post thoughts online and like no filter because I was a young, dumb idiot. But now I'm very selective with what I post because I feel like what you put on social media, especially when you're like trying to be an artist, like a public figure, so to speak, it's important what you put up. You can't just be out here being like, oh, just took a shit. Oh, this sandwich was delicious. Like, it's got to be like, oh, I really hate this song. You know what I mean? Like, why? You know what I mean? So when I posted that recently, I just wanted people to understand, and I wanted to be honest with myself and just put it out there. I think people have this misconception of me that I'm just like, really arrogant, because I came up kind of just telling people I'm better than them in battle rap, So people probably are like, oh, this dude thinks he's better than everyone else. Like, I'm very confident in myself now. I've grown into a very confident person, but I don't think I'm better than people. I just think I'm being the best version of myself, and I want that for other people. I don't have animosity towards other humans naturally, and I used to. So that's why I posted that status that was like, look, the anniversary of this happening, the 106 and Park thing, which was happening this time. It was October, November. This is the time it was happening. It really shows me the growth I've had as a person outside of music, because at the time I did it and I was like, oh, this is it. I'm about to get a record deal and I'm going to, not realizing battle rap's totally different than making songs. And people that see me battle rap don't necessarily care about my music. They just want to hear me battle rap. So I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about my own ego and how to check it. And you can be confident without being a douche. And I learned how to do that because of that experience. And I just got, I got a lot of paid shows after that. I started really making money. I actually got fired from my last office job I ever had. I got fired from during the 106 and Park thing. But I'm so glad that happened. But after that, why work? I'm already getting paid. Every show I do, I'm making, $300 to $500 for every show I'm doing. I'm getting booked at least once a week in Philly, like more than that sometimes. And it's just, I'm like, why? I'm getting paid for features. People are throwing obscene money I shouldn't have took from them to write 1616. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I'm young. You know what I mean? I'm in my early 20s. I'm like, stupid. I mean, I'm not too much older than that now, but like the amount of growth that can happen in 4 to 5 years is amazing if you really think about it. Like, think about yourself 5 years ago versus now. There's stuff you did 5 years ago that now you'd be like, maybe not, maybe don't do that, So it was a growth thing. It was a growth period that was necessary for me. But that was the point of the status. It wasn't just about as an artist. It was as a person. Because I really did let it go to my head for a little bit. And, I crashed hard after that. I almost went broke. I just learned a lot about myself from that, good and bad. So like I said, man, without sounding like a broken record, I'm really thankful that happened. It is behind me now, but I'm never going to forget it.
Yeah, I do that with, like, every 6 months I go through a period of, like, I need to clean up my social media act. And then, like, dude, I'm drinking one night and I call someone, like, gay or something. I'm like, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, no, you can't do that. Oh, man, that's bad news. Because you know how you meant it. Yeah. But social media doesn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. You got to think about that. 2017, like, or whatever, 20 whatever. How you intend it, like, there's no filter where, like, social media will be like, he did not mean it this way. Well, no one's going to do that. So, yeah, it's good that you clean up social media every 6 months. You should keep doing that.
I wanted to ask you how you deal with, like, it's like in your bio it mentions you did I can't think of what you would call it. Not a cover, but you, like, rapped over the Panda track.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned it had, like, over 1 million views. I wanted to ask how you deal with like when you have like one song or whatever video whatever that gets like all these hits and shit, and then when you put out something and it's like no one notices, like, because I don't know, do you like take that as like, oh, I didn't do as good on this thing, or is it just like, because like algorithms and shit, it's so weird, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you see someone put something out and it's like blows up, and then same artist, and you're like, oh, I think this material is just as good, but it just doesn't seem to get that
all the time.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with other artists a lot. Like their big song is rarely the one I really like. You know what I mean? Like if there's an artist I'm really into and that song blows up, a lot of times I'll understand. I won't be like, why that song? Like I'll get it most of the time. I'll be like, yeah, it's the catchiest one or whatever. Yeah. But I wind up liking their lesser known songs more, and I feel the same way about myself. But I don't feel like, oh, this song's better. Like the Panda thing, I mean, that was something I did for this. I worked for this website, Oogie Woogie, that folded. But at the time, the whole election thing was happening. And my homie Roan, who he's actually when I mentioned I had friends with talented battle rappers, he's one of them. Guy's amazing. And we both worked for them. And we were out on like a smoke break one time at work. But it wasn't cigarettes. And we were out there and doing some pot. And this dude was like, we were talking about the election. And I was just like, man, I don't rock with Trump at all. Obviously he's a sack of shit. But I never really rocked with Hillary like that either. So I was just kind of like, man, I don't know what to do here. But we were talking about how she like pandered to black people, which, she totally did. Totally did. And then I started being like, and Panda was like the biggest record in the country at the time. Not a record I particularly liked, but a huge record. So I was like, man, pander. And then Roan was like, yo, that's great. We should do that. And then we made the record. Double XL posted it on their front page. They tweeted it. They made it their like favorited tweet that up top on their profile. And it blew up. But what helped me is that my name wasn't really attached to it. It was just kind of like the Pander song by Oogie Woogie. Like it wasn't really like Voss did this.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like they mentioned my name in the article, but like it wasn't like a big thing. And on YouTube, it wasn't listed as Voss Pander, which helped. I'll tell people I did it all day. I am proud of it. It's a funny parody. You know what I mean? And I killed the flow. Like a lot of people didn't know I could flow like that. Like I did Designer's flow, better than he does. But it was no disrespect to Designer, but you know what I mean. So that was a different case. I don't feel like that was really associated to me, so it didn't really hurt me in the long run. Whereas I think with the battle rap stuff, I'm still shaking that off. You know what I mean? Where people just want to see me battle rap, and it's like, did you hear the song I just wrote? You know what I mean? Did you see this video I just put out? Did you see the show I just played? And they're just like, yeah, but when are you going to battle whoever? And I'm like, oh, Nevuary, dude. Never. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But man, I wouldn't mind if I was a one-hit wonder, is that so bad? Like, if you make millions of dollars off one song, is that so terrible? And then you have like a cult following for the rest of your career, and you can still tour.
And nonstop, you mentioned 48 Laws of Power, which I talk about a lot lately. I was wondering if there's anything you're reading now, or if you read a lot.
I should read more. I like reading. I enjoy it. I used to read a lot when I was younger, and then life happens. You're an adult, and like especially the lifestyle I live now. I'm on the move. Like I said earlier, I'm on the move a lot. Like I have a lot going on all the time because I have to. Not only to make money, but just like if I stay in one space for too long, I go nuts. So it's harder to read as much as I want to now. The last book I read actually a couple months ago, actually it was more than that, probably almost a year ago, which I hate to admit. It's called Kanye West Owes Me $300. And it's by this dude, Jensen Karp, who used to rap. He was a white dude, white Jewish, like nerdy dude. He used to rap as Hot Carl, and he got signed by Interscope in like the early 2000s or late 90s. And that they signed him, they signed Eminem, they signed Bubba Sparks, and I think someone else all at the same time, these white guys. And Jimmy Iovine was like, we're going to have the next big white rapper. And like he was one of them. And then obviously Eminem's the one that popped off, and they kind of, and Bubba Sparks somewhat, but then they like dropped everybody. And the book is super interesting. It's very funny. This dude is really funny. And it's like a really enthralling book that spoke to me as a like, it's like relevant to my life, obviously. Like I'm also a rapper. I also happen to be of the Caucasian persuasion. So reading that book was definitely an eye-opener, showing me more. Like I know some of the ins and outs of the music industry, but this guy was really in the thick of it. You know what I mean? He was like, he did records. He was like, did a record with Kanye West. Like Kanye made a beat for this dude before he was a big deal, before Kanye was a big deal. You know, I'm not going to give away the story of why Kanye owes him $300. You got to read the book, but it's super good. Those are the type of books I like. I'm not really into like fantasy books. You know what I mean? Dungeons and Dragons type of shit. Like I'm more into like same type of movies I'm into, like realistic, like shit that really happens. But that was the last book I read cover to cover. I've never actually read the 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, and I respect it. But I also think a lot of guys, there's these like fake mogul dudes that like read that book and are like, oh, now I'm going to take over the world. I know the 48 laws. And it's like, nah, man, you're still like a stupid douchebag. So that's why I nonstop, like the line is, like sarcastically, I say, reading the 48 Laws of Power. They're more like the first 48, call them cowards. Like the first 48, like snitching. Like it's just like you're not reading the 48 Laws of Power doesn't mean you've acquired them now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just read them. What you do with them determines if you actually absorbed the lessons from them or not. I don't blame the guy who wrote the book, but a lot of people read that book and get a sense of false confidence. You know what I mean? And I see a lot of that even in the Philadelphia music scene, and I'm just kind of like, ugh. This guy like probably like jerks off to the 48 Laws of Power. Like, you know what I mean? The pages stick together. There's really only like 20 something left because you can't read half of them. I don't know. It's just like it's that shit. That's like a pet peeve of mine. But people, I do also know people that swear by it that are like killing it. So it's like I respect the 48 Laws. I just haven't read the book. Art of War is another book I've been meaning to read that I haven't read. But I respect it. And it wasn't a line hating on the book. It's just certain people. Like, I don't know what you said you've been talking about a lot. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I went through this phase of, like, I was, like, listening to a lot of, like, kind of, like, self-helpy podcasts where they're just, like, men, we're going to, like, teach you to be a man. And I'm like, I don't think this is really doing it. Like, in the spur of the moment, I'm very, like, yeah, I'm going to fucking, like, do all this. And then it's
this
like.
Is the answer.
Yeah. And then
this
like,
podcast is the answer.
And then it's like, wait, you have to, like, actually follow through on, like, doing all this shit.
Yeah, you do.
But it's like there's some interesting things like in the like I've read The Art of War too, and again it's like I don't like that's a pretty thin book, like it's pretty short book.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't know if it's weird like reading something and then being like I'm gonna put this into practice type of shit, you know what I mean?
For sure.
But
follow through is tough.
Yeah. Are you still think about writing a book ever, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that's always on my mind. I don't see myself doing it till I'm older and my life slows down. You know what I mean? And I'm like just at the point in my life where I'm kind of chilling more, you know? That I'll probably do like a memoir or I don't know what I'm going to do, but I would like to write a book before I'm out of here, you know? I'm not sure what. It might even be a complete like I might just make something up based on true events and just do like a story. I'm not sure. I would like to write a book though. I know I could. I'd probably get some help. I'd probably have like you know how like some like celebrities or whatever will do like an autobiography and it'll be like celebrity name with some other guy that really wrote the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want it like that, but I would probably get some help from like an experienced author. Like I think I write well, but I've never written a novel. I've never written a memoir, you know. So I'd probably get some help. But I would like to do that. That's definitely something I would like to do. But hey, follow through. You know what I mean? We'll see if I even make it there, you know.
You have an album coming out in 2018.
Yeah, man.
Lost and Crowned.
Lost and Crowned, yep.
Would you just want to talk about that a little? Or,
Hell yeah.
Do you have a release date or anything?
We don't have a date yet. We're looking at like January, February. So like not far. It's all recorded. It's getting mixed and mastered. Yeah, man, it's definitely like it's gonna be somewhat divisive. I feel like some of my fans that like that throwback '90s type shit are not gonna like it. But I assure you, like the lyrics are still there. It's the most fun record I've ever made. There's definitely some more serious songs. I feel like every project I put out is going to have more serious songs just because that's just the type of person I am. I'm not like this like everything's a party type of dude.
Yeah.
I like to party. Everyone knows that, but that's not all life is, so I don't want to put out a project that's only that. But it's definitely fun. There's some more fun on it. I took some more risks as far as the production I chose. And I think it has the strongest hooks I've written. And I'm extremely excited about it. My management and I have some like plans for it. We'll see if they pop off or not. I'm not going to try to jinx anything. It's exciting. It's just my last project, Insatiable, came out in April of 2016. So in hip hop time, it's been a while,
Yeah.
Closing in on 2 years. So it's exciting to have something else now that's like ready,
Yeah.
And that's all I think about that album every day. Like all I think about is this album.
Sorry. Where can people find you at? Find your stuff? Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah. Let's see. Instagram at Voss the Rapper, VOSSTHE Rapper. You know how to spell. Voss the Rapper on SoundCloud as well. That's where you can hear a lot of my songs. I put out a bunch of singles over the summer. I put out like 8 or 9 songs. They're all on SoundCloud. Also, Twitter is Who Is Mike Voss. Just spelled how it is. What other social media is there?
I think you have a website, right?
Yeah, my website, of course. Thank you. I'm so bad at this. VossMusic.com. That's if you go to VossMusic.com, that links you to everything. Like you can just go on there to find links to all my social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that shit. So yeah, VossMusic.com would be the best way. New project, Lost and Crown, coming top of next year. It's an exciting time. It's a good time. If you haven't really checked my stuff out, I think now's the time because I think I'm making like the strongest stuff I've made.
And just anything else you'd like to close on or anything?
Yeah, it's all about the follow through. I never meant to disrespect Designer. Please don't diss me with your lyrical bars that you totally have. And thank you, you know what I mean, to anyone that listens to this and took the time to hear us blabber on for however long we talked. And keep riding with me. I'm going to be putting out some really cool songs. And I'm really thankful for everyone that has supported me to this point. I feel like it's, I'm just really getting started. So thanks to everybody.